One of the important parts of collecting and tracking your data is understanding where your leads are coming from and then understanding the quality of those leads. Okay, you might be getting a lot of leads from Instagram, but if a lot of them are not booking, it doesn't matter. If you have 50 inquiries that come in every single month from Instagram, but you only end up booking 5, that's 90% of them are a bad quality lead. So that should be an indicator that there's something that's not connecting. You're finding the wrong people on Instagram. You're finding brides and they're reaching out, but if they're not moving through the booking process, they're not the right ones for you. So it's time to shift your content. It's time to shift your focus so that you are reaching out to better people. Okay, so if you're doing something and you're getting a lot of results, you might think that it's really working for you because you're being driven by the emotion surrounding that result. Okay, you're driven by the emotion that those likes are giving you, those dopamine hits of a lot of people are liking or they're watching your reels or they're sharing them. And that kind of just like gives you that dopamine hit of like, yes, all right, I'm doing really good and people like what I'm doing. But if that's not translating into actual bookings for you and income, that's a lot of work and that's a lot of time that you are spending on something that's not actually moving the needle forward in your business. So if you look at the data and say, okay, these are how many people that found me through Instagram and actually ended up booking, you can start to evaluate, is what I'm actually doing working for my business, or is it just giving me this emotional satisfaction? All right, and then you can make those decisions based on actual numbers instead of emotions. When you have that data, you can evaluate and you can make a better plan. Is that data telling you that what you're doing is working and to expand on that and to continue doing that? Or is that data telling you, actually, this isn't getting the result that you want? So that's a waste of time. So either let's eliminate that or let's change that. Is it something that's supporting a goal that you want for next year? When you are using those data to make decisions, okay, it's really important to take a step back and say, how am I using this data? Am I using it correctly to fuel success, or am I getting bogged down with the emotions attached to this data? Okay, because you can take data and be like looking at it and be like, okay, yeah, I've got this number of whatever, and that number can make you feel really good, or that number can make you feel really bad. And you can end up getting sucked back into the emotional side of things. So just be aware when you are doing that. Are you connecting an emotion to these numbers? Are you feeling happy and satisfied with it? Or are you feeling frustrated and sad by it? Don't get bogged down with the negative feelings, because that doesn't fuel your success if you're focused on it too much. If you're not seeing the results that you want, it can be really easy to get in your head about it and make a decision that doesn't end up helping you in the long run. So when you are making these decisions for your business, you have to look at your business as a long-term thing. You can't just look at immediate instant gratification. It may feel like something is not working, and you might see numbers that are telling you this isn't working. That might not mean that you need to get rid of it. It might just mean that there's a little change that you need to make, or you're not looking at things big picture enough. You're too narrowed down. You might be looking too much at like your follower counts or your likes or your engagement and getting bogged down with that. You might be comparing yourself to somebody else and being like, well, my reels don't get as much engagement or likes or views or whatever. I know I keep going back to Instagram because I think that that's just something that in our business and our line of work is just, it fuels a lot of decisions that we make, and it fuels a lot of the emotions that we have around our business. So I kind of keep going back to it as an example, but it's also one of the things that can either give us instant gratification, or we can take a look at things big picture. You may not have gotten as much growth in your followers over this year, or views or whatever metric you want to track. Okay. But if you're still getting a lot of bookings, does that really matter? Okay. You can get in your head and be like, oh, it's not good enough. But really, is it? Are you being emotional about those numbers, or are you saying, oh, actually, if I look at this number related to it and be like, okay, I actually grew by 25% this year in my following, and the quality of inquiries that I was getting from Instagram not only grew, but the quality was better. More of those people were booking. Okay, that's how, you're making decisions based on the right data versus the wrong data, so to speak. So hopefully that makes sense. But I just want to kind of let you know that, like, don't get too bogged down if the data isn't telling you what you want to see. The whole purpose of going through this exercise and taking a look and evaluating what worked in our business so we can make changes for next year is to see what wasn't working. Okay, so don't let it hold you back. Don't let it bog you down. Don't compare yourself to somebody else. Take a look bigger picture and just be like, is it better than last year? Okay, that's good. That's still good enough. You can make changes and make next year better. You can still use that data to fuel your growth, but don't let it hold you back. So if you want to be in business long term, you really need to look at your business as a long game. Some decisions are just going to have that immediate impact for better or for worse, okay? And others not going to show up for like weeks or months down the road. Like I said about, the networking. You might make a connection with somebody, and 6 months later, you're going to see the fruit from that interaction and from that relationship that you've spent 6 months building up. They might contact you for a styled shoot that gets you published somewhere that accomplishes one of your goals. If you're like, oh, I want to be published on XYZ blog, that networking opportunity could have brought that to you. You never know where these things are going to come from. So look at things long term. Don't just get so bogged down in the immediate gratification of, hey, I spent time making a new connection and nothing has come of it. And it's only been a month, or it's only been 2 months, or whatever. Like, don't just put in the work one time. Sometimes you have to put in consistent little smaller bits of work, showing up for that networking event, being committed to your business. It's the same thing with Instagram. Being consistent is going to build your following much better than having 1 or 2 reels go viral. You might get an influx of people, but if they don't stick around and they unfollow you, or they don't engage with you because they only like that one piece of content that you put out instead of all the content that you put out, that's actually going to hurt you in the long run because your engagement numbers are going to go down. So when you put out new pieces of content, Instagram isn't going to push it. Okay, so you got to take a look. What are the actions that I'm taking long term? What is the potential for them? And am I doing enough? Am I trying to just do something once and expecting it to be the magic key to my business? Changing your Instagram bio, that's not going to suddenly get you a bunch more followers. Having a reel go viral is not going to make you Insta famous. Making one networking connection at an event isn't going to suddenly put you on their preferred vendor list. Like, long term, guys, we got to look at all the little actions. How do they put together to build this business? A foundation isn't built with one brick. It's lots of little bricks. How do those bricks connect? And are you taking time to build it slow and strong? Or are you just trying to rush? Are you just trying to get all the bricks to build a big, building, or build a big wall, or whatever, but you're not taking the time to make sure that everything is placed really strong and supported and supporting each other? It all works together. So thank you so much for joining me on today's podcast. I will see you next time.